All right, let's get right into it. We're about to explore an idea that, well, it might feel a bit strange, a little uncomfortable, but I promise you, it's also incredibly powerful. We're going to take a hard look at something we all cherish, the idea of hope.
Let's just start with what the source material calls the uncomfortable truth. I know, it's blunt, but this isn't meant to be a downer. Think of it as our ground zero, our starting point, because once we really truly accept this, it forces us to ask some really important questions about everything else.
And that brings us to Section 1, the modern paradox. And believe me, it's a real puzzle, one that's sitting right at the heart of our lives today.
So here's the deal. If you look at pretty much any chart, wealth, safety, how long we live, everything is trending up. I mean, on paper, things have never been better. And yet, how do we feel? Anxiety, depression, this kind of free-floating despair? That's all on the rise too. So what is going on? How can life be getting objectively better while we feel subjectively worse?
To solve that paradox, we have to look inward. So, Section 2, your brain's two drivers. See, the problem might not be what's happening out there. The problem is the wiring in here, the two competing forces inside your own head.
Okay, so here's the first major plot twist. We all love to believe that we're these rational creatures, firmly in control of our choices. But what if that feeling of being in charge is just a story we tell ourselves? What if you're not actually the one at the wheel?
I want you to picture your mind as a car. The one with its hands on the steering wheel, foot on the gas, deciding when to speed up and when to slam on the brakes, that's your emotional, impulsive feeling brain. And your rational thinking brain, it's sitting in the passenger seat with the map, yelling out directions, but it can't actually grab the wheel. The feeling brain is always going to do what feels right, not necessarily what the thinking brain knows is right.
So what's motivating this driver, this feeling brain? You'd think it's the pursuit of happiness, right? Well, nope, it's actually the avoidance of pain. Every bad thing that's ever happened to you, it creates a value. If you got cheated on, you value loyalty. If you ever felt totally powerless, you start to value control. Your emotional self is just on this constant mission to balance the scales for all the hurts of the past. And over time, all of these values, all these memories, they get woven together into a narrative, a story. And that story becomes your identity. It's the story of you. And the crazy thing is, we protect this story with the same raw instinct that we use to protect our physical bodies. When someone attacks our beliefs, it feels like a physical punch.
Okay, so we're all just emotional drivers, running from our past pain and fiercely protecting our personal stories. Where does hope fit into all of this? Well, this is where it gets tricky. This is where we start to see that hope might actually be the problem.
Here's the thing about hope. It's not a solo project. To really believe in a better future, we need other people to believe in it with us. We need a community. And according to the source material, we build what it calls religions to create that community. Now, it's using the word religion in a really broad sense here. It could be a church, sure, but it could also be a political party or even a super intense romantic relationship that's built on this shared dream of the future.
But there's a dark side to this. To define who's in the group, you have to define who's out of the group. To have heroes, you need to have villains. And so these communities of hope, these religions, they often make their bonds stronger by creating an enemy, an other. They promise a heaven for their believers, but in the process, they can create a real hell for everybody else, fueling all sorts of conflict and division.
And that brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer. We think we need hope to save us from our pain, but hope is actually what tears us apart. It sets up this transactional view of the future. If I just do this, then I'll get that perfect outcome. And that makes us fragile, because when our hopes inevitably get crushed, all we're left with is pain and someone to blame. Just like in the old myth, hope is the last thing to come out of Pandora's box, unleashing chaos into the world.
So, if hope is the problem, what's the alternative? Are we just supposed to live in despair? No, absolutely not. The opposite of hope isn't hopelessness. It's something much, much stronger. It's about building a life beyond hope.
You see this ancient symbol, the snake eating its own tail? It's called the Ouroboros, and it represents this eternal cycle of life and death. It's the perfect visual for an old idea called amor fati, which is just Latin for love of one's fate. It means accepting everything that happens, the good, the bad, the ugly, not because you hope it'll lead to something better, but just because it's part of your story. It's about being unbreakable or anti-fragile. So how do you act in a world without this kind of hope? What's your North Star? The philosopher Immanuel Kant gave us a pretty solid one. He called it the formula of humanity, but it's really simple. Treat every single person, and that includes yourself, as an end in themselves, and never, ever just as a tool to get something else. People aren't stepping stones, they're the destination.
You can actually look at this whole journey as the process of growing up. The child lives for pleasure. If it feels good, do it. The adolescent lives by transaction. I'll be nice to you if you're nice to me. That's where hope lives, in that transactional world. But the adult? The adult learns to live by principle. They do what's right simply because it's right, no matter how it feels or what they get out of it. It's a life built on solid virtue, not on fragile hope.
So the final takeaway is this. We've been told our whole lives to never give up hope. But maybe the real path to a better life and a more resilient self isn't about wishing for a future without pain. Maybe it's about having the courage to face the present, to act with principle, and to find meaning right here, right now, in the whole beautiful, painful mess of it all.
Now, if you're ready to take these ideas and actually put them into practice, the source for this explainer has put together a 7-day guide. It's basically a quest to start building a life that's founded on principle, not just on hope. Thanks for coming on this journey with me.